Do the controversies surrounding Disney's Snow White remake show that we are still in the thick of the culture wars? Oh, have you been following the Snow White?
Actually, the first I'm hearing of this.
Really?
No.
Yeah.
Okay.
Good for you.
Well, the two stars are Gal Gadot,
Before you.
who she was in the Israeli Defense Forces. She's Israeli, and then Rachel Zegler plays Snow White. I think Gal plays the. I was not a child, so I don't follow. I don't know fairy tales. I never read comic books. But something is this the one with the poison apple and the whatever it is?
Hi everyone, happy return. Today, we'll explore the Snow White remake debate, one of the most surprising cultural conflicts rocking Hollywood. There has been far more controversy surrounding Disney's most recent attempt to retell a traditional fairy tale than just fairy dust. The famous Seven Dwarfs were controversially cut from the movie in an attempt to update the narrative and steer clear of antiquated cliches. The action was purportedly taken in response to activist worries that these characters were spreading damaging stereotypes. This is when things start to get interesting. Speaking out, a number of performers with dwarfism have criticized this adjustment as a major blunder that essentially eliminates important job options for a minority that already faces stigma in Hollywood. Even comedian and pundit Bill Maher expressed his opinion, criticizing Disney for what he perceives to be performative wokeness. Maher emphasized the irony of the studio's attempt to be so progressive that it ultimately excludes the very people it says it is defending. He underlined in one of his hallmark tirades how the fixation on avoiding offense may occasionally result in tone-deaf decisions devoid of common sense or real-world sensitivity. Disney is catering to an internet mob that frequently doesn't represent the people most impacted, Maher claims, rather than taking real steps towards inclusiveness. The question is raised, has Disney overreached itself in its efforts to be inclusive, thereby marginalizing the same people it sought to support? Is a more profound discussion about representation, sensitivity, and who actually gets to speak for underrepresented communities in contemporary media necessary? Buckle up, press the subscribe button, and let's get started. We have a lot to discuss.
Okay, so they're in. And Rachel Zegler, being 23 or whatever she is, like so many kids raised on TikTok, she's all for infantada is the only global solution. So the two stars hate each other. And then they couldn't put dwarfs because this is just so typical of the left. The progressives always finding a way to find their way back to doing something not progressive. You'd think the most progressive thing would be get people jobs, and dwarfs want to work. And honest,
Golden employment opportunity for dwarves.
there's not that many scripts that come down the pike
No, there's 7 of them.
that has, and there's seven dwarf jobs here. But because I think it was Peter Dinklage said this is, this is not right. This is demeaning. And they were like, what? We just want to work. We're dwarves. So, ho, ho, ho.
Now, let's discuss the Snow White scenario as what began as a Disney remake has evolved into a major flashpoint in the culture war. It's also a great illustration of how progressive policies may occasionally backfire and harm the exact people they are intended to help. So, this is what took place. The famous Seven Dwarfs were dropped by Disney in an attempt to update the Snow White tale. For what reason? That is, why? Apparently, someone thought it may be disrespectful or stereotypical to include dwarf characters. Determined that using dwarf characters could be hurtful or stereotypical, performative progressivism was born. The twist, though, is this. Wait a minute, that was our shot. Real dwarf actors are out there. I mean, how recently has Hollywood produced a popular film with 7 roles tailored for small people? This was a unique, excellent representation and real job chance. Moreover, Disney simply removed them from the screenplay rather than allowing them to continue telling the story in a way that changes the plot. It's a typical instance of making such a concerted effort to be politically correct that you wind up stifling the same voices you say you support. Progress isn't what that is. PR optics masquerading as virtue. Even Bill Maher weighed in, essentially stating that Disney is making such an absurd effort to be woke. To be honest, he's not entirely mistaken. Occasionally, organizations overlook the important point in their haste to avoid offending anyone. Erasure is not the same as inclusion. It entails telling meaningful stories with the communities concerned, not just for them.
Agree with Bernie Sanders that progressives should shed the Democratic label and run as independents instead. Is that what he's saying now? Should they aim to be angry moderates?
I think it would be good not for all Democrats to shed the label of Democrats, but I think more people should run as independents in more places. Dan Osborne in Nebraska, that was a great race. And it makes sense. And I mean, one of the ways that we've destroyed party competition in this country is that in a bunch of states, they either find the right so repugnant, I think at the moment for me understandably, or the left so repugnant, there actually is no competition. So having people run as independents and be able to make an argument outside of the party label, it makes sense. It would be good if I would like to see, I think a lot of political donors are functionally counterproductive. I think creating the infrastructure for independent competition in states that are otherwise one-party control would actually be a great use of political philanthropy.
Let's move on from fairy tales to the real fantasy of political reform in the United States. Yes, ranked choice voting and independent candidates are in question. In fact, Andrew Sullivan and Ezra Klein were able to agree on this one. And that is uncommon these days, so let's listen. The atmosphere is here. Both of them are annoyed by how divisive American politics are. One side is screaming fascist, while the other is shouting communist. We're stuck in the middle, wondering if we can only get healthcare and avoid going broke on eggs. Just 2 words: political reform. Let's start with independent candidates. They are proposing that more people should run for office outside of the established party structure. For what reason? Because real competition is non-existent in areas where one party is in control. It is merely a formality whether your district is deep red or deep blue. Independents could change that by providing voters with real options and pressuring candidates to win over more people. Next is voting by ranked choice. In all honesty, this may be the secret political cheat code we were unaware we required. You rate the candidates rather than selecting one at a time. Priority 1, second, third, and so forth. Your vote will still count towards your second choice in this manner, even if your first pick doesn't win. It's similar to saying, okay, I hate that guy, but I don't love this guy, so I'll vote for the next best choice. This type of structure, as Sullivan noted, helps us avoid choosing radicals and pushes politicians to form coalitions rather than only appease the most vocal supporters. In New York, it even brought us Eric Adams. Not flawless, but also not a fringe freak. Bottom line, although independent candidates and ranked choice voting won't cure our flawed political system overnight, they could make it more competitive, less poisonous, and much more representative of what the general public wants.
And we're just about to get it in D.C. is ranked choice voting. 1, 2, 3. You actually show people that you don't like this nutter, but you'd rather this nutter than that one. So you give them a little priority, and as the candidates fall out, when they get they then contribute their vote to the next one. So you get a consensus candidate.
Is that a jungle?
And that's how we got Eric Adams in New York, and it's really
Well,
can't blame it on ranked choice voting.
Is that a jungle primary? Is that what they call it, jungle?
No, jungle primary is different. California's jungle primary. Really.
What does that mean?
Jungle primary, I think, is that you have a bunch of people running, and the top 2 vote getters, no matter what party they are, then have a runoff. So that's how you get a general election in California. We have 2 Democrats running against each other. Ranked choice is that the general election, you can have a lot of different candidates going, or in a primary, you can have a lot of different candidates, and you're ranking through them. So if you have people who are consensus, like if everybody has kind of the same second choice, but people are split between like 3 more extreme first choices,
right,
you might get that second consensus candidate as the winner. For the Eric Adams joke, ranked choice voting is a good idea. We should do it.
Okay, Eric. Thank you, everybody. I appreciate it.
Drop your take in the comments. I read every single one. And hey, if you're into real talk, cultural deep dives, and breaking down the noise, make sure to hit that like button, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you don't miss the next one. Thanks for watching. Thanks for watching. I appreciate you.